Hello and welcome again to another 5-minute reflection. Today we are going to be talking about the word sorry and how it permeates the lives of people with disability quite often. We'll be talking about that today on 5-minute reflection. This is a subject that has I've been thinking about a lot over the years, but came into focus when I read a recent article by Faith Martin, who I believe has a disability, and she's also a journalist. And in order to not quote her wrongly, I'm going to be reading off my screen, and so I'll be looking down a little bit, but then we'll talk about how the same sort of thing has affected my life. Faith wrote an article which said, "I won't say sorry for being disabled anymore." She said, "I remember apologising for having to be pushed around my school in my wheelchair as young as 8 years old. I was unable to move my manual chair myself, so different students would help me around the playground, open doors and move chairs around so I could sit at the table. Though I would always thank them, my thanks would always be swiftly followed by the words, 'I'm sorry.' I felt embarrassed that I needed so much help, and I didn't want other children to have sympathy for me, and I felt like a burden on my peers, believing that they were my only friends with me because they felt guilty. While other children were able to do things for themselves, like cut up their dinner or play outside without supervision, at such a young age, I wasn't able to comprehend why I wasn't able to be as independent. As such, apologising for the activities I needed for support came naturally to me. I felt like an annoyance to friends and teachers, and subconsciously saying sorry reinforced the idea in my mind that I was useless and I was asking for too much help. It's not something I've been able to shake over the years. I've constantly found myself apologising for circumstances due to my disability, whether it's to cancel a night out because my wheelchair is broken, or having to ask a store assistant to get a product out of my reach on the shelf, which I have to do every time I go to the supermarket. I've even apologised to carers for needing help with shirts, buttons and putting on shoes and so on. Throughout my teenage years, I said sorry for 100 different things beyond my control due to being a wheelchair user. Now, I'm not going to keep reading the whole article by Faith, but she made me rethink about the things that have been in my mind about saying sorry. And over the years, many people say, "Rod, you say sorry for everything. Stop saying sorry." And a lot of the people that are my support and sport workers and stuff say, "Rod, stop saying sorry." So I started thinking about it and how early it might have been in my memories of that same thing. And I've come to the conclusion that it is something that comes inherently with with many disabilities, not just physical ones. My father mentioned today that people with hearing impairments are often uncomfortable and apologise for not being able to hear. And I mean, it's not really their fault. So I went back over it, and I remember as a kid at school that if I went anywhere with anyone, I usually had to give them a reason to take me, and I felt guilty. For example, if I wanted to go camping with my friends Jeff Jones and Peter Wallace, who were wonderful guys, they would have to look after me and make sure I was okay and move me around the campsite. I remember one night when we thought someone was attacking us, and they grabbed me physically and ran off with me, one arm over each of their shoulders, until we ran into the back of a cow. But that's another story. It was very dark. But it was always knowing that you were being a burden on other people and saying sorry. And guilt over receiving, although they were needed, more resources and more attention as I was growing up than my siblings even, because I needed operations, I needed all sorts of special shoes, I needed help, I needed all sorts of things. And sorry about my head cutting off there, look at that, how amazing. I've got a flat head. But anyway, and I knew that I was taking, even at that age, I knew that I was taking more resources than my sisters. And that was something that, even though people didn't know, bothered me. And I think in some ways, because they were children, it probably bothered them as well, because children don't fully understand things. I also was aware when we went on a holiday that sometimes there might be things that my family would do with my sisters, but they didn't do them because it would mean I would be excluded. And this is something that's come up with people as I've worked with other families with people with disabilities, and it's a difficult one. But again, you want to say in your mind all the time, sorry, 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 I'm really sorry. And even though they might not be blaming you, you're blaming yourself. And it's taken a while for me to think of some of these things. Even receiving an award. I remember in SEBS, Church of England Boys Society, I received an award for being the most courageous Seb in the camp, because I went on the Flying Fox and I had to hold on to the Flying Fox while they pulled me up the Flying Fox with the rope and then let me go. Now, I was very proud to receive that award, but I was also a little bit embarrassed because I knew how much effort people had gone to get me to do something that the other guys could do just really simply. So there was a mixture of sorry and pride at that point. And then there's times when people have made you feel guilty when you just shouldn't have. Like taking a group of people in wheelchairs on a vacation for a company, and we were at the airport 4 hours before the plane arrived, but we couldn't get assistance from the ground staff onto the plane. We had 6 wheelchairs. When we finally did get assistance, we held the plane up because they were getting our wheelchairs into the cargo. And the pilot made the wonderful announcement of, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really, really sorry that we're running behind, but we had to put wheelchair passengers on and their wheelchairs into the hold. Sorry, really sorry for being there 4 hours before and being on time and holding you up. So there was another thing. You also had the guilt. I was also guilty of the realization as I got older of how much stress, financial stress, you put on a family as you're growing up. And then I got the NDIS and I felt guilty about how much money the government was paying and how much of the taxpayers' money I was taking. So this sorry thing has just not gone away. And I'm realizing that it's not my fault. It's not something I could help, and I'm only bringing this up because I want other people to think about it and realize that you really have nothing to be sorry about. At least I don't believe we do. So as my producer said, it's a case of the tagline, sorry, not sorry. But it's so embedded in our mind, it's very difficult to get to that situation. It's been interesting now that I am on the NDIS and I've received a lot of things. When I got the NDIS, I took some donuts up to the place where my local area coordinator is. When I got my new wheelchairs, I've sent some flowers and some chocolates to the people that have assisted me. And someone said to me, "You're being a bit of a suck rod, aren't you?" And I was thinking about that. And no, I'm just finally grateful that I can just thank people for what they're doing for me rather than ask them for things over and over again. And as I've received all these help and all this assistance through the NDIS, well, I've just been so grateful. It's been a wonderful experience to be able to thank people and give them something back. Now, I'm not sure if any of this has made sense to all of you, but I do know that over the years I've said sorry a lot. Will I be able to stop saying sorry? I don't know. Do I still feel guilty? Yes, I do, even though I know I shouldn't. Do I still feel sorry? Probably I do, even though I shouldn't. But it's just an interesting 5-minute reflection to bring up and talk to everyone about. Before I go today, let's just acknowledge some of the people who have supported us. And that is IOMI. They do all sorts of automation in the home, like lights, fans, sliding doors. For people with dementia, they have lighting to the bathroom at night, all sorts of simple and complicated technology to make life easier. Hello World Travel in Harvey Bay, who are doing all our overseas travel arrangements for us, Totally Mobile, who sell mobility scooters and so on, and have also loaned us things occasionally in order to do different segments and so on. Simple Solutions, who have just been wonderful, and they are NDIS trainers and providers, and they train people to the highest level here in Hervey Bay. We have to thank the NDIS. I've just told you how wonderful it's been for me in my life and how much it's changed it. I think that's just about everyone we've thanked. Please do us a favour. We're getting a lot of traffic on Facebook, and that's wonderful, but if you could like and subscribe to our YouTube channels, that would be fantastic. We've got 2 YouTube channels, Accessible Globe TV or Anywhere on Wheels. Both of those, if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell and get our subscriptions up there, that would really, really help us in what we are doing. So thanks for listening today on this 5-minute reflection. I hope it's helped you or made some sense to you. Please leave comments, tell me what you think, like, and do whatever you like. If you don't like it, don't like it, but just interact and be part of what we're doing. Thanks, and see you next time on 5-minute reflection.